Right, good morning, welcome back. Now, my old Hayabusa is almost ready for its inspection. The last little jobs involve cable ties and chuck a number plate on the back and it's ready to go. But for some bizarre reason, suddenly, it won't start. Now, it was on the button a couple of weeks ago, but not now. It just turns over and won't fire up. And I think I know what's wrong. Here's what I'm getting. Nothing. And I think the telltale is the absence of a certain sound when you first turn the key. Right, with any fuel-injected motorcycle, you should be able to turn the key on and listen out for two sounds. The clocks will whir as they go through their check protocols, and also you should hear the fuel pump prime as well. And when I turn this key on, the clocks do their bit, but not the fuel pump. Nothing. It's a distinct whirring sound that you should hear from under the tank. Nothing at all. Let's pull the tank up and have a look. Now there's the fuel pump on this particular bike, just down there. And when you turn the key, it should whiz away for about 5 seconds as it primes up the pressure to the fuel rail. And once again, when I turn the key on now, it isn't. Right, the first consideration is always a fuse, but it's not that because other items covered by the same fuse are working fine. So next thing, am I getting a live feed to the plug it plugs into? So clearly, I'm getting a power feed to prime the pump and a power feed when turning it over, which means the bike is not at fault. It is isolated purely to the pump. For some reason, it's just not responding. Okay, fuel pumps do tend to get full of sludge. That's why they have filters in. And this has been sat for 2 years. You remember the fuel hoses just rotted away. So it's highly likely there's a lot of sludge and crap in there, and it's probably jammed it up, I imagine. So here's a little trick, just to see if you can free it off. Mate mine showed me this one. Take a couple of jockey wires with bared off ends, poke a couple into the feed plug and connect that straight to the battery. Never mind the rest of the bike, never mind the switches and the fuses, just literally direct connect it to the battery and tap it on the live feed and see if you can jolt the power into it just to free it up. Let's see if that works. Right, so that doesn't work. Clearly, connecting it to power and tapping it on the live, that won't jolt it into life. And even tapping it physically with a screwdriver handle whilst it's connected to power, that won't break it free either. So clearly, it's got to come off and have a proper look, which you would do anyway, because this, even if it worked, would only be a get you home fix. It wouldn't be the sort of thing that you'd be happy with and go out there on the road and risk that happening again. So let's get it off. Take a look. Okay, that's the assembly completely stripped and everything gutted out of it. This top casing, that's got the pressure regulator there bolted to it, and it has a little filter screen in the top, little tiny one. That needs replacing, it's all full of crusty bits. Also, this is the main filter, the little pleated one. That's all rusty on the outside and somehow it's rattling, so there's probably some dead badgers living in there. I've got to get a new one of them. And also, in the bottom of this casing, there's a plastic carrier with a main filter screen in there. That's the main point of entry for the fuel. So obviously that's where all the dead badgers are going to be, underneath that screen in there, and I can't get it out. At the moment, that plastic carrier that holds it down is completely jammed, and it's 25 years old. It's been in there immersed in petrol all that time, and I reckon if I try and rip that out, I'm going to break it. So I'm going to go online before I go any further and see what service parts I can get to replace internals in this assembly before I go any further. I'm just going to carefully put that to one side and step away from it, because this video wasn't about that stuff, it was about the pump itself. So as one last final check on this, connect it from its terminals straight to a battery and see if it spins. Goes. Nothing. Just check this is actually live. Yep, live. So that's now certified live. Well, that's pretty conclusive. Absolutely stone dead. So I need to buy a new one of these, if they're available, along with all the service parts for the assembly, and I'll bring you a rebuild video once all those parts arrive next time. So thanks for watching. I'll see you then.